Screams erupted simultaneously from Xiao Ying and Xiaoxi's mouths. The class monitor quickly shut the door. My little brother and I didn't dare to keep looking at that scene. Back in the living room, we collapsed on the sofa, our hearts unable to calm down for a long time. Xiao Yu, you said Xiao Shu knocked on your bedroom door last night. What was he trying to do? He was asking us for help. But I think then why didn't you help him? The class monitor interrupted me and impulsively looked like he wanted to lunge forward, but suddenly, as if realizing something, he sat back down on the sofa. We cannot harm others. Class monitor, we all know you were close to Xiao Shu. But think calmly. Last night, Xiao Shu, why didn't he go to room 6 to seek your help? Why don't we let Xiao Yu finish speaking? Yes, when Xiao Shu let out that final scream, wasn't he saying that you were going to kill him, class monitor? Upon hearing that, the class monitor fell silent. Then I told them what happened last night and some of my speculations. On one hand, I think the Xiao Shu asking for help outside and the Xiao Shu dead inside the room might not be the same person. On the other hand, Xiao Shu's death was very likely due to breaking a rule. Because on the 10th rule it says, you must not attempt to leave this house. And Xiao Shu tried to break through the door. From this perspective, it seems that breaking the rules is still possible in the morning, but after midnight. Then, I let out a deep sigh regarding Xiao Shu's death. Everyone was deeply saddened, especially the class monitor. His gaze was already starting to look vacant. And Xiao Ying and Xiao Shi were probably scared stiff, their bodies still trembling. Only Xiao Jun seemed relatively calm. Seems like someone is deep in thought. Anyway, the atmosphere was unbearably heavy. I hadn't slept all night. Without realizing it, I fell asleep on the sofa. When I woke up, it was already noon 12 o'clock. I was awakened by the sound of an argument. It was between class rep and Xiao Ying. The topic of the argument, as expected, was why did you invite us here for vacation? If you hadn't invited us, we wouldn't be going through all this. It seemed Xiao Shi was also woken up. He came out of the bedroom to get away from that mess. I took Xiao Shi to the kitchen, planning to make some food. Even if it tasted terrible, we still had to eat something. In the fridge's fresh compartment, we found a lot of seafood and vegetables, but strangely, the freezer wouldn't open no matter what. When I asked class rep, he said maybe it's frozen shut, so I didn't think much of it. After what happened last night, we decided this meal would be mostly vegetables, but when we put the food in our mouths, there was still a strong stench swirling around. Not long after, the sour smell of vomit filled the living room once again. Though we replenished some strength from eating, the food, the environment, and Xiao Shu's death had broken us down. Everyone collapsed on the sofa, not wanting to say a word. Even Sakura, who was furious just now, lost all strength to argue. In this place without phones or internet, we could only rely on our imagination to pass the time. Every time I thought about Xiaoshi's death, my body would tremble uncontrollably. After all, this wasn't a joke. It was a real death that happened right before our eyes. The corpse was lying in the bedroom just one wall away. And so, we endured until PM. By that time, no matter how unwilling, we had to talk about what question to ask at 10 o'clock. I wanted to know about Xiaoshu. No, I had to know how Li Yongji died. Class rep said Xiaoshu's full name, but since the person is already dead, it shouldn't matter. Regarding this suggestion, no one agreed. and no one refused. Even the usually talkative younger member remained silent this time. At PM, the familiar sound of knocking was heard. The class leader walked to the door and asked that question. A response quickly came from outside. How many rules did you break to die this way? Upon hearing the answer, everyone was stunned. If he died because he broke a rule, it would make sense. But breaking multiple rules, how could there be multiple? Could it be possible that the parasite lured him to open the door after midnight, thus breaking several rules? If that's true, then a question that had been left unanswered for a long time was brought up again. Who exactly is the parasite? We must find out tonight. I still think it's pointless. Li Yongzhi's death was entirely because he broke the rules himself. To put it plainly, as long as we follow the rules, the Ascender won't harm us. But if we get rid of the parasite, won't we be safer? Class leader, I already said yesterday, we can't determine whether the parasite counts as a person. If we harm them, we might be breaking the rules. By then, they could rightfully attack you. Then isn't this an unsolvable situation? It's not unsolvable. As long as we follow the rules and survive for 7 days, everything will return to normal. Are you that sure? I'm sure. If you have doubts, you can ask every night at PM. You don't need me to believe you. No need to waste a question. Before speaking, Xiao Ying, who hadn't spoken for a long time, suddenly stood up. Without saying a word, she walked back to bedroom number 1. Seeing this, the class monitor immediately followed her. Then he closed the door of bedroom number 1. As for what he said earlier about finding the parasite, no one mentioned it again. There was nothing more to talk about, so we all returned to our bedrooms one after another. Not long after we got back, Xiaoxi suddenly started crying on the bed for no reason. Xiao Yu, do you think we can make it out alive? I miss home. Don't worry, we will definitely get out of here alive. We've been gone so long without contacting home. Do you think my parents are really worried about me? Maybe they're searching for me everywhere now. Faced with such questions, I didn't know how to comfort him. All I could do was take out my earphones and let him listen to music to calm down. At the same time, I also made him a cup of calming coffee, so he could fall asleep early. I told him not to overthink. Time quickly reached midnight. I anxiously watched the door, afraid that what happened last night would happen again. Afraid that another person might die tonight. But this night seemed peaceful. Nothing happened. Until Lily screamed. Xiao Jie, you calm. Don't leave me behind. Class monitor, don't come over. Don't kill me. My parents are waiting for me to come home. Class monitor, I'll open the door for you. Xiaoxi's sleep-talking woke me up as I groggily opened my eyes, trying to see what was going on. I saw Xiaoxi walking toward the main door. He was turning the lock. If I hadn't reacted quickly, he would have already opened it. I hurried to wake him from his sleepwalking. Once awake, Xiaoxi was terrified. When I told him what had just happened, he started crying again out of fear and cried himself to sleep. That night, to prevent Xiaoxi from sleepwalking again, I stayed up watching him all night. On the 3rd morning, but since things have come to this, I can't really blame him for anything anymore. Coming to the living room, I saw everyone sitting safely on the sofa. We all seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. That day, apart from eating to regain strength and sleeping, we spent the whole day discussing what question to ask at PM. Maybe because we've gotten used to it, no one threw up during the 2 meals today. The class monitor even ate more than usual. The air no longer smelled like vomit, but there was a slight musty odor. At PM, the door was knocked on right on time. I walked to the door and asked the question we'd discussed all day. Parasites. Under what circumstances can they harm or kill us? Please explain. In detail. The last 5 words were something I added on the spot, though I didn't know if it would work, but I had to try. A reply quickly came from outside the door. When the number of deaths among you reaches 3, and I let the victor know all of your names, he will no longer be bound by the rules. No longer bound by the rules. In other words, he can kill us anytime, anywhere, and we can't fight back. Hearing that answer, everyone was stunned. Because that means, originally, each of us only had to worry about our own survival. But now we had to care about everyone's life and death. Still, as always, it comes down to this. As long as we follow the rules, no one will die. Nothing bad will happen. After that, everyone gradually returned to their rooms, back in the bedroom. To prevent Xiaoxi from sleepwalking again, I pushed the wardrobe against the door. Then, after quickly checking that the window was tightly shut, Xiaoxi and I lay back in our spots. After 3 days of torment, both body and mind were already exhausted. Before long, Xiaoxi and I fell into deep sleep. In my dreams, I saw Xiaodi. He was desperately banging on our door, begging me for help. In the end, the squad leader behind him slashed him with a knife. I was startled awake from the nightmare. When I woke up, it was already bright outside, but I couldn't shake off a strange feeling, because the dream felt so real. I hurried out of the bedroom and rushed to room 3. I banged on the door frantically. Xiaodi, Xiaodi, are you in there? Open the door. There was no response. The others were awakened by my noise. They all came out of their rooms. What's going on? I told them about my dream last night. The others said I was just scared and had a nightmare. Xiaodi was always the one who followed the rules the most. If anyone were to die, it wouldn't be him. But then Xiao Zheng spoke with a serious expression. Actually, I heard it too. And I wasn't dreaming. Hearing this, the squad leader's expression immediately turned serious. No way. The next second, he broke the door open. When we saw Xiaodi's body hanging from the beam, everyone was stunned. Maybe because it wasn't the first time we had seen a corpse. This time Xiao Ying and Xiaoxi didn't scream, but they were still trembling, out of fear. After closing the door, we returned to sit on the sofas in the living room. No one said a word, because we couldn't understand. Xiao Di, who always emphasized following the rules, why would he die? Did he break some rule? Squad leader, what should we do? The squad leader lowered his head and kept sighing. Another one dead. Xiao Di, Fan Jianxi. It's all because of me. If only I hadn't invited you all. But now it's too late. Blaming ourselves is useless. Why don't we ask again tonight? How exactly did little bro die? No one answered. The atmosphere was unbearably heavy. After all, if just one more person dies, the parasite won't need to hide anymore. We spent the day like walking corpses. All we did was eat and sleep, fearing the arrival of night. Because we no longer understood the rules. Breaking them means death. Following them also means death. No one knew if someone would die tonight. And no one knew if that person would be themselves. Time passed quickly. It was PM, time to ask questions again. As the knocking began, and seeing no one react, I was about to stand up to ask about little bro's death. But suddenly, the usually quiet Xiao Ying shouted loudly, "Besides surviving 7 days, is there any other way to leave here early? If there is, please explain in detail." Soon, a reply came from outside the door. "After 2:30 a.m., the freezer compartment will unlock. Inside, there will be a passage that lets you escape." Hearing this answer, everyone looked as if they had found hope. They began to discuss excitedly. "Xiao Yi, your question was amazing. We're saved." Though that's what they said, I still felt something was off. Isn't there a rule that says we can't stay in the hall after midnight? What's wrong with that? The hall is the hall, but the fridge is in the kitchen. Besides, the rules clearly say the answers from the person outside are always correct. It's totally fine. Although class rep's explanation made some sense, at that moment, his tone was starting to sound strange. That made me reevaluate everything he said. All we had to do was wait until 2:30 a.m. Haha. We can finally leave this cursed place. Haha. Squad leader, why do I feel like you're acting strange? Do you have a fever? What fever? I think you are the weird one. If you don't want to leave tonight, you can just stay here and wait to die. But I'm definitely getting out of here tonight. I'm definitely leaving tonight. Haha. As soon as squad leader finished speaking, he walked straight into the kitchen, leaving the four of us staring at each other. Seeing that squad leader couldn't be relied on, Xiaoxi turned to look at me. "Xiao Yu, what should we do now?" "Principal, what do you think? Since squad leader has decided to go with that method, I think we should wait and see if he really manages to leave. It won't hurt to wait one more day." After hearing Xiao Zheng's reply, I nodded, then turned to look at Xiao Ying. "Xiao Ying, this is your question. Now you have the answer. Aren't you going with squad leader?" I think I'll do like Xiao Zheng. Let's wait and see." "Xiaoxi, I think the same as them." "What about you?" "Me too." After the discussion, everyone went back to their rooms. In the bedroom, Xiaoxi, who was listening to music, suddenly took off his headphones and asked me a strange question. "Xiao Yu, do you think the parasite has to wait until everyone is dead before it can leave?" "How would I know?" "If not, then when it comes to the end, I hope the parasite will spare me." "What do you mean by that?" Xiaoxi smiled, putting his headphones back on. "Nothing. Maybe it's just that after staying here too long, my mind is starting to go a bit crazy." As soon as he finished speaking, the bedroom door was suddenly knocked on. Thanks for watching. Norman Sub.